Hello again, this is my Model Railway News Update. This is a special news report about Hornby's Autumn 2025 announcements. They added a few new things to their range, and I think it's worth probably having a look at each of them in turn and talking about what they've decided to offer us. So the first one obviously must be the Railroad Class 37 in the police livery. Now this hails back to a TV advert many years ago, which is now kind of like a fading memory for most of us, but still this is a very interesting and appealing livery. It's certainly going to attract a lot of sales, I think, and it has the added feature of a blue flashing light and also sound which includes a police siren, so there's a lot of fun parts to this model. However, be aware this isn't actually a new thing. Lima first did this model and they did it way back in 1987, I believe, and I actually think the Hornby model is using the same body shell as this model too. So it's nothing new this, but it's certainly quite an interesting 37 to add to your collection. It's certainly very eye-catching, and with the added features of the light and the sound, it's certainly going to be something unique. The price for this has been set at $149.99, which is fair enough for a digital model, but this is really old tooling and it's really starting to show its age. The body shell just isn't up to modern day standards, so it feels like a bit of a gimmick, maybe aimed at younger people, and for them I think it would be very interesting, but I don't think they would remember the original advert at all. The Police 37 should be out in time for Christmas as well, so it's probably going to be a present under the tree for quite a few younger modelers, I reckon. They also announced two other 37 class liveries, and they're quite bright and colourful as well. These are coming in at the same price of an RRP of $149.99, but personally I wouldn't buy these. I'm convinced these aren't really that much better than Lima really, and I would pay a bit extra money and go for the Akura scale one, or even similar money and go for the Bachmann one, especially if you're looking in the second-hand market. So I wasn't overly impressed with the Class 37s that they announced. And sticking with diesels, we moved on to the Class 31. This is number 271, named Stratford. It's just a new livery on a previous model, and it is another one I'm feeling is getting a bit long in the tooth now. I believe this was the revised Hornby tooling that debuted in around about year 2000, but that is still quite a while ago. And here in the railroad range, it's coming in at $89.99 RRP, which is a fairly okay price, I guess, but this is a bit lackluster in my mind. And then the final diesel was, well, it's another 47. This in the new livery. That's number 306. And you know my thoughts on Class 47s. There's a million liveries. I just think it's way overdone. And again, this is nothing other than just a new livery on an old body shell. Okay, it's $94.99 RRP. That's still a decent enough price for a brand new locomotive in 00 scale, but yeah, it's just getting on a bit now, and I think we've got enough 47s, and not just from Hornby, we've got them from all the other manufacturers as well. I think we've probably got enough of these now. So then we moved on to steam locomotives. So the first locomotive was a new version of the Saint class. This one is St David number 2920. It's coming in at an RRP of $234.99, and this one features a 21-pin DCC socket, and it has a firebox flickering glow. And this particular one has the later style curve frame chassis, fluted die-cast piston rods, and also a later chimney design and safety valves with top feeds. But aside from that, it's pretty much the same as any other Saint class that they have produced in the past. And I actually believe this tooling goes back to 2008. I might be wrong in that, so let me know in the comments below, but this is certainly not a new locomotive, just really a new livery with a couple of tweaks here and there. And the J52 saw a new livery as well. This one coming in with an RRP of $174.99. It features the BR Late crest and number 68846. This is based on the all-new tooling that Hornby released for this model. I think it was first announced back in November 2023, I believe, and became part of the 2024 range with 3 liveries on the initial release. So this is another one added onto that. And the next one was the Southern Region Class M7 tank engine. This one is number 318, and it's coming in at £214.99. Now this only has an 8-pin socket for DCC. It's not a digital model, this one, even though it's got that quite high price, but it is a nice looking locomotive, that's for sure. Again, the tooling for this was announced back in November 2023, I believe, and also it was in the 2024 range with 3 initial liveries, so this is an additional livery added onto that. However, I'm a little bit confused why this only has an 8-pin DCC socket. I believe the previous retooling ones had 21-pin DCC. I might be wrong in that again, so I'm not sure why they've made this cheaper if they have indeed done that. But it is a good looking locomotive, definitely one of my favourites so far. Next we had a couple of Patriot classes, starting off with this LMS black and red livery one. This is 5514 Holyhead. It's coming in at £239.99. It's a very handsome looking locomotive, this. And this is making use of Hornby's brand new super detailed tooling, which came out in 2024, I believe. It first came out again with 3 liveries, and we have this new one here. It has a 21 pin socket and a 5-pole skew wound motor, and you can fit it with sound as well. So it's a great model. This, it looks really good too. But it wasn't just that one. We also had the rebuilt version. This one is the Sir Robert Turnbull, and it's number 45540. It's the same price, but you can see this is in the green colour and it's got the smoke deflectors at the front. This didn't come as a surprise because they'd announced that they were going to do some variants in the past, and this is one of them obviously, and there was hints that we'd maybe get weathered ones too in the future. So maybe there's more to come here. That was it for steam. We're moving on to electric locomotives now, and we have a Class 87 here. It's the same price as the Patriot, by the way. This one is the Olympian 87012 in the Network Southeast livery, a very popular colour scheme, this one. Now, I believe this is making use of the new tooling that Hornby debuted in around about 2017-2018. They originally released Robert Burns, and some of the features of that new tooling included the enhanced cab details. Roof details were improved as well, and it had TTS sound options. This is an analogue version, but it's 21 pin DCC ready, but I don't believe it's taken advantage of the super detailed versions that they currently do, which they had released from 2020. I think it's actually the one before that. Anyway, I think this will be popular because of the colour scheme. And we're moving on now to this, which is the Class 153, this one number 360 in Northern Rail livery. A very interesting and bright livery option, that's for sure. It's coming in at £169.99. Now, this model has been around for some time. It originally got released in 2008, and then it was later in around 2016 to around about 2019 enhanced with LED lights, which I think is this one. It does have the 21 pin DCC socket and the improved couplers on it, but it is quite an old model now, and it is starting to show its age as well. The ordering seemed to be a bit odd in the Hornby presentation because we now have another diesel coming up after everything else. But this is the Class 67, it's number 015. It comes in at £214.99, which is a lot of money. If we have a look at the spec sheet here, I'm failing to see just why this is quite as expensive as it is. I think the price should come in around about 180 perhaps. I might be missing something, but it does come with a 21 pin DCC socket and a 5-pole skew wound motor. It was originally released into the Hornby range in 2014, and it's gone through a number of slight upgrades since then, but it's still pretty much the basic model, which would now be over 10 years old. The DB livery is pretty good, I think, but not sure this is the best model to opt for. Finally, it was just this tiny little Ruston and Hornsby 88DS shunter locomotive in the British Gas livery. It's coming in at £124.99, and this is another livery to add to the range. This first came out in 2019 with 4 liveries, and this is another one added onto it. There's no changes other than the livery. And that was it. There was no rolling stock, no coaches or wagons or buildings or anything else in the announcement, just these locomotives. And out of these, I guess the most favourite one is going to be the police one. I think it's going to sell pretty well, even though in my mind it's quite an old thing and it seems a bit of a kind of gimmick, but it would be a lot of fun, and I can imagine it at shows. If it ran on a show layout, it would certainly attract a lot of attention. That's pretty good that they're producing that, and a clever way of dragging an old piece of tooling out of the archive and putting it into a new box and selling it at a modern price. Out of the rest, I think I'll go back to saying that I like the LMS Patriot class the most. I think it's a handsome looking locomotive. It's got some nice lines to it. Would I buy this over a Black 5? Probably not, but it would be an interesting model to add to your layout if you have an LMS or early British Rail theme. But one thing that is really noticeable here is that there's really nothing new. It's just liveries on models that have been out before, and to me it doesn't inspire confidence in the Hornby brand when all they're doing is just new liveries on old models, and some of them very old. In the case of the Class 37, I think they should probably retire that, and definitely the 47. I mean, I can't believe there's any liveries left that haven't been done on a Class 47 already. But that's just what I think. What did you think of this range? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts. Anyway, that's the video, folks. Thanks for watching. I'm sure there'll be more coming soon, so subscribe to keep yourself up to date, and I'll see you on the next one.
So model trains, model words, choo choo, model trains, tiny train, a tiny